the officers retire for fairly lengthy deliberation.
I'm glad it's over, let's just put it that way. I've got a banging headache, helmet's digging into my head. I'm not touching any kit now. I'm going straight to Tats, the pub.
Obi later discovers that he's made it through to the final 8 who will appear in front of the Queen.
It's easy to forget that up until 100 years or so ago, we didn't get about in cars, lorries and vans. Instead, we had a much more elegant form of transport, this sort of thing here. And the Royal Windsor Horse Show reminds you that horses in the royal family go back to the reign of Alfred the Great, and they were used for centuries after that as the only form of transport. But not just for kings and queens and princes, but for ordinary folk to gad about.
Over the next 5 days, over 3,000 horses and 70,000 people will converge on the Queen's private lawns in Windsor Castle's home park.
Morning! Come here often.
And every day, the Queen and Prince Philip turn up to see what's going on. It's a complex event that requires detailed planning, and there's one area in particular where nothing must be allowed to go wrong.
Oh, jeez. The thought of the Queen walking down that would just absolutely horrify me.
No, actually, I need both ends, Kelly.
It's horrible. It will look lovely when it's been hoovered, I promise you. Unfortunately, me being a very fussy house manager, I don't like any speck of anything on it. You will see when I run this carpet out later for the Queen, it'll be spotless.
Well, this tray here is Her Majesty's tray, so we already have a lime and mint there, already made. We'll have a glass of Pimm's, which she won't drink, and probably just a glass of plain water next to that there. I make the Pimm's, even though she won't drink it, just to have a good selection of drinks on the tray there as well. And the tray next to it is the Duke's tray, glass of Pimm's and a glass of pale.
Your involvement with the Royal Windsor Horse Show seems to be quite considerable. You've been here most days.
Well, it's here, it's in the back garden.
Everyone's getting ready in Windsor's hastily erected horse town. Karen Bassett has left the funeral cortege at home and brought her competition carriages and horses all the way from Derby to Windsor.
Use the centre of the wheel.
Right. I wasn't planning to do this, but as the seat was vacant, it seemed rather churlish not to. The feeling of power in front of you is amazing. You suddenly become aware of the amount of power, I mean horsepower, literally.
It's quite an exciting feeling. It's a bit like getting on a very big motorbike or a very fast car. You get the same sensation.
This is Formula One.
This is Formula One. It's just an incredible buzz.
That's a very comforting sort of noise, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a soothing noise to ask them to slow down. Calm down, guys. We're going too quick kind of a noise. And everything I do, it's all code noises that I make. And then if I go, you see how they slow down? But I'm still chatting to you, and it's not the words I've said to you, it was that noise.
I mean, you must get scared a bit as well, don't you?
Just occasionally I might be going a bit too fast in an obstacle. My heart will just miss a beat and think, sure, we got away with that. But if you don't drive to the edge, you can't win.
What for you is the key moment? When do you think, I know why I do this?
When you're going through an obstacle and you've gone really fast, you haven't touched a thing, and you come out and you just say, yes, beat that, boys.
Oh. Thank you. What an experience. I mean, you can see exactly why people get hooked. It's incredibly exhilarating, just wonderful. You decided to stop competing a few years ago. Do you miss the competitive element of it?
Well, I miss it. Well, I go on driving, but I miss the driving. But I don't miss having to walk around learning the obstacles, because there are 8 of them, up to 6 gates. And my memory is not up to that anymore. My legs aren't up to walking around. They go around for hours deciding where to go and get it so that you can remember it.
In this male-dominated sport, Karen Bassett has only one female rival.
And here's my sister.
Her younger sister, Pippa. Who's your main competition?
Never really worked out why women don't want to do it. I think it's a very hard sport to do.
Neither of us have had children, so...
We've spent all our time and energy on the horses instead of a family. Maybe that's the answer. I never really thought about that.
Well, surely having horses is rather like having children, isn't it?
It's exactly the same. The only good thing is you can shut the stable door and walk away and say, I'll see you in the morning. But you can't do that with children.
Horses have been ridden side saddle for centuries. The side saddle was considered the only way for a lady to proceed properly on the horseback.
Katie Jerram is competing on the Queen's novice horse, Stardust, and they have an especially interested spectator.
Does Her Majesty offer advice or say, I think we ought to be doing this?
She suggests things, but I speak to Terry Pendry a lot and communicate with Terry, and Terry's fantastic, and so we communicate, and then he'll ask Her Majesty and then come back to me, and we sort of work things out through that way.
In addition to being ridden, it's also something of a beauty contest. On the Queen's right, Princess Haya bint Al Hussein. On her left, Katie's mum, Jill.
Ladies side saddle. In fourth place, Stardust the Third, owned by Her Majesty the Queen and ridden by Katie Jerram. In third place, Captain Hastings, owned by Mrs. Marfley.
Has Stardust's Windsor debut been successful?
Her Majesty was very pleased with her, and, you know, next time, hopefully, you know, she'll get a little bit better. Very happy, yeah, very happy.
Chin chin.
And do you know something, Stevie? I want to know how you get such sparkling tea.
It's the royal water, dear.
Of course, let's drink to that.
If I'm going that way, I suppose I'm better than that.
How many have you done now?
17.
You've done 17 Royal Windsors.
17 Royal Windsors, 18 show jumpings
Jumpings at Olympia.
There's a different atmosphere at Olympia. This is a bit more of a family feel to it, this show
I agree
as well.
with you. Do you get the butterfly feeling when you're doing a royal like I do when I'm doing the box?
The blood pressure goes up to here, stops, and it goes back down again.
I wouldn't have thought that of you.
Morning, Your Majesty. Not too bad, Your Highness.
It's one of those jobs. We're dealing with Her Majesty, dealing with the Duke of Edinburgh, top military brass, and who else is going to walk in and
Very
know,
true.
I've got to be ready like that, Alan, and I can't make no mistakes. I have to be 100% A1 all the time.
Is it that? You missed your once-in-a-lifetime sales opportunity.
The Queen came in. The Queen was here.
Was she? The Queen was here.
Oh no, was she? It's in the toilet. Was she really here?
George Bowman has won the International Carriage Driving Grand Prix 7 times at Windsor, but this year, disaster has struck.
We had a problem, we lost a horse, and then his other best horse went lame. It's sound now, but it was too late, he had to withdraw. The good side of it is that he lent me 2 of his best horses. So,
You're all right.
His son, George Jr., shares his father's passion.
well, it's as addictive as heroin and 10 times as expensive.
We've got 2 ladies, Karen and
I've got
Pippa
my weak
Bassett.
point now. I have got to try and win those 2 women.
Do you think, can you beat them?
They're very, very good.
Yeah.
Don't believe me, they are good. They're in world class.
You've got a team going, they're all up together, they are, as they say, on the button, and then suddenly George lost one overnight. It's true.
Yeah, that's bad luck. Well, I started with ponies, and then I had both ponies and horses. I taught myself to drive a team with stalking ponies at Balmoral. And then I got the carriage horses from here, the Cleveland Bays, the ones that do all the public duties. And the fell ponies are indestructible. I mean, they're incredible. I've hardly ever had a pony have anything wrong with it, ever. Whereas the horses, there's always something wrong with them.
Right, guys, who's with me? Who's on the royal drinks? Come with me now, then. Okay, you're going to be helping me doing the royal drinks there as well, okay? Forget about what everybody else asks you. If someone else asks you for something, pass it on to someone else and let them go ahead and do it. How long?
About 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. 5 minutes. Apparently 2 minutes until HM arrival there as well, so...
Oh, it is. Well done, England. Fine victory in style. They set off in great form. Emma Weir from Hamilton.
Okay. Majesty, would you like a drink there at all? I have a lime and mint or a Pimm's there.
Oh, it's a bit early for one, but I'll leave it till later.
Second year of the tattoo, and we had a sellout.
It looked very, very full.
It was.
The other side, but the lights were absolutely straight in our eyes.
It was difficult for you to see, but I promise you, every single corner, not a seat to sell. Nigel Utting.
Who are you with?
A friend of mine, sir.
Oh,
and a guest of... No, luckily for him, I am. I am.
Well, sponging on him.
Absolutely, he's sponging off me, sort of.
Each evening, the Royal Tattoo performs whatever the weather. The musical ride has faced torrential rain, and while soldiers are trained always to obey orders, horses, on the other hand...
We were drenched. The monkey men coming out the back, we couldn't even see. And there was, water running down our faces, the flags dripping wet, twice as heavy, pulling us back. But everyone enjoys the rush when we're doing it.
About.
Over the next 5 days, over 3,000 horses and 70,000 people will converge on the Queen's private lawns in Windsor Castle's home park.
Morning. Come here often.
The officers retire for fairly lengthy deliberation.
I'm glad it's over, let's just put it that way. I've got a banging headache, helmet's digging into my head. I'm not touching any kit now, I'm going straight.
And every day, the Queen and Prince Philip turn up to see what's going on. It's a complex event that requires detailed planning, and there's one area in particular where nothing must be allowed to go wrong.
Oh, jeez. The thought of the Queen walking down that would just absolutely horrify me. No, actually, I need both ends, Kelly. It's horrible.
Straight to Tats, the pub.
Obi later discovers that he's made it through to the final 8 who'll appear in front of the Queen.
It's easy to forget that up until 100 years or so ago, we didn't get about in cars, lorries and vans. Instead, we had a much more elegant form of transport, this sort of thing here. And the Royal Windsor Horse Show reminds you that horses in the royal family go back to the reign of Alfred the Great, and they were used for centuries after that as the only form of transport. But not just for kings and queens and princes, but for ordinary folk to gather